Yeah, I think the main problem I'm having now is I'm trying to sell a product that isn't fully formed. And so the value of it has only been tested for so long, and the numbers aren't impressive. So it's just like,
What do you sell?
well, it's software, a search engine software. Uh, and I'm trying to sell the suite of that. So we basically will list merchants and charge them, you know, $5 or $30 a month for different benefits to get
So
listed.
if I'm not wrong, Google, Yahoo, and Bing are your main competitors.
Exactly. But in the Bitcoin niche. And then, yeah, we're trying to start another one that's the same idea, but for vaping.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
That
I
is
guess
a
I'm
tough
not clear on
sell.
the product is the problem.
Yeah, really the biggest thing, and you can ask Nick, I've kind of stood by this, knowing your product's the easiest thing and the easiest way to know what's valuable about it is to know everything you can about your product, your industry, and that. And just knowing, having that information allows you to hear what your client's saying or your potential prospect, and then be able to pick out the portions that are important.
Right.
I'd second that. So I guess if you had to distill your challenge down into a question, what would that be?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel very unclear, but that's probably the problem. So I don't think I have a question, but that was the gist of what I'm
Gotcha.
trying to muddle through. Yeah.
So,
It,
like, yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, if you haven't been on enough calls by now, I tend to be like the more 30,000 foot view, think like, less granular, more fundamental. Like, it sounds like you need to believe in your product more, first of all. And I think part of that is knowing what it does, but not only knowing what it does, but what the business is getting out of it. It's hard to believe in something if you don't really know what it's doing for the business owners. So like, yeah, you're saying it lists them and like, okay, but why? What's the point? Like, why are they paying you? It's not to get listed. It's to achieve some benefit. It's to achieve something.
Yeah.
Right? To achieve viewership or, which would ultimately then be, okay, so we get more viewers so that people check us out so that more people spend money with us. So we're paying you because we want to make more money. Right. So I think you need to know what your prospect wants out of your product.
Yeah.
Because they don't give a shit about your product.
Right. Because like
no prospect gives any shit about any product.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you're definitely right. And I think the problem that I'm having right now is just because it's still so new. We only just started ramping up everything in October. And so I'm having a lot of fun trying to get it up on its feet, but that doesn't make it easy to sell at the moment because yeah.
There's this thing in copywriting, and I'm going to use this to go against the whole like, oh, the product is the number one thing. The offer is the number one thing, not necessarily the product. And I think that there's a very fine distinction between the two. What you're offering and what the product is are different. But secondly, it comes down to the prospect, right? That you're putting the right offer in front of the right prospect. And in copywriting, there's this thing where a lot of the really big mailers back in the 70s and 80s, the copywriters that sold their own informational products and things, they actually wrote the sales letter to send out before they even created the product. Many times they wrote the sales letter just based on what they knew about the market. They'd write like an emotional lead because they knew that their market was suffering from XYZ pain, whatever. And then when they would like tease the product, it would be, teaser bullets, which are just like, short things describing what they learn inside of the info product. And again, they wouldn't even have the product created. They were just making this off the top of their head, talking to the prospect and what they wanted. So if a common question of whatever market is, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, then they'd write a bullet about like using that question as like the foundation of it. And then if enough people actually like bought it, then they'd create the product. So you just really need to start with your customer. You need to start with what this offer is really doing for your customer and why they should be hyped about this offer and why you should be hyped about this offer, because you're presenting your customer with this amazing thing that's going to get them it's going to relieve every pain that they have in your sector. It's going to allow them to sleep well at night because they're not fucking worried about something, you know, that's on the top of their mind right now. And like, you just need passion behind it.
That's very inspirational.
You can catch me on stage next week. I'll be in, I'm traveling, doing motivational speaking.
Someone get this guy a mic. No, I appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense. And we're in motion of, I think just the next step is making sure that I can get accurate intel of what exactly it is that we're providing. Because I did my own number crunching just to see. But I know that it's going to get better in the next couple of months. So it might be smart to wait until, you know, the value is like very clear. But we're like on the cusp of it. So I just got excited and I wanted to start calling, but that's kind of what I'm waiting for, is to make sure that the stats hold up. And then I can, cause I'm excited about what it could do. It's just not doing it yet, but it's going to.
Yeah. Well, you have customers currently, right?
We do. Yeah.
Have you talked to them? Have you asked them why they bought?
No, I don't think we have. That's a great idea.
So you just call them up and say, hey, you know, this is Brandy with company name. You know, I wanted to say thank you for being a customer with us. And I just had a few questions for you, if you wouldn't mind answering them. You know, what made you buy this? Like, what, or not buy this, but like, whatever, you know, better wording, but you're just going to ask them some straightforward questions to find out why they bought it. Did they have a service similar before, and why did they switch from that? Like, what didn't they like about the previous service that they were with, if there was one? And you'll really find out a lot, because finding out why they bought it is probably pretty telling to the rest of the market.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I'll second that. That's something that I've been doing at Toggle, and it has been the most helpful thing in the world for understanding exactly what language to use in my sales conversations. Because the software development team thinks about my tool in a fundamentally different way than a creative agency does. And when I speak to the directors at each of those companies, they describe the way that Toggle helps them in fundamentally different ways. They use it differently. So people are going to use your service differently. Some people are going to be like, wow, this like totally increases my web conversions by like a lot. I really love how much traffic I get. Someone else is going to be like, man, I'm getting so many more sales in my online store from Bitcoin. As soon as I signed up on the site, the distribution of cash to Bitcoin sales went from like 99% cash to like 80% cash. And that's like phenomenal. So now you'll learn how to speak to an e-commerce shop versus a, I don't know, some random other company that has a totally different use case, right? So that's, yeah, insanely valuable.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And it's so much better than cold calling because they actually like your product and they're not going to be jerks to you.
I was going to say bonus, you'll get more comfortable on the phone just talking on the phone.
But holy shit, even if they don't like your service, like they want a reason to vent their frustration.
Right, you'll learn either way.
Yeah. So you're like the good guy no matter what. Like, even if they fundamentally hate you because they like hate that they paid for the service, you're still getting intel because you're allowing them to vent to somebody at the company that they dislike.
Oh my God, that's genius. No, that gives me a lot to think about. Thanks, you guys.
You're welcome. Glad you're here.